The Take It Back movement, represented by Director of Mobilization Damilola Adegboruwa, stated on Channels Television's The August Protest program that their group will continue the #EndBadGovernance protest against economic hardship until President Bola Tinubu addresses their demands. Despite human rights lawyer Ebun-Olu Adegboruwa, a senior advocate of Nigeria, writing to security agencies for protection for protesters, Adegboruwa clarified that Adegboruwa does not represent their group. The protests, which began on August 1, 2024, have seen demonstrators, primarily youths, dispersed by police using tear gas. Some hoodlums took advantage of the situation to loot, leading to curfews in several states. The protests, potentially lasting beyond 10 days, call for the restoration of petrol subsidies, a fair forex regime, addressing food shortages and unemployment, reducing government spending, and reforming the electoral and anti-corruption bodies. Despite these demands, the government has yet to respond, and the protests continue amid economic challenges, including high inflation and rising cost of living. Adegboruwa emphasized that the protests are driven by widespread hunger and economic deprivation, not by any particular sponsors. He criticized the government's handling of the economic crisis, particularly the removal of the petrol subsidy and the unification of the forex windows, which have exacerbated inflation and the cost of living. He expressed disappointment that President Tinubu has not yet addressed the protesters' demands, highlighting that these demonstrations are a significant statement from the Nigerian people, asserting their power to hold leaders accountable. The protests have led to clashes with law enforcement, resulting in the use of tear gas to disperse crowds and reports of violence, including the looting of public and private property by some opportunists. In response to the unrest, several state governments have imposed curfews in volatile areas to prevent further violence and looting. Amnesty International has reported casualties during the protests, including the death of a police officer, injuries to other officers, and the burning of police stations. The nationwide protests are scheduled to continue until August 10, with potential for extension depending on the government's response. The protesters are demanding immediate government action to alleviate the economic hardships facing Nigerians, including the restoration of subsidies, reforms in governance and anti-corruption efforts, and measures to address food shortages and unemployment.